Welcome to another TAD Talk where we talk about all things recruitment marketing. And today we're going to focus on the different ways that we experience people building career websites. The career website is your real estate to tell your story about the employment experience, and truly a place where you want to make sure you have all of the content correct and updated, where the candidate or the job seeker can access the jobs. And so it really needs to be something that is continually modified. It almost has like a living and breathing feel to it, where we continue to update it. There are a couple of ways that we see career websites created, and we wanted to talk a little bit more about each of the different methods that are generally used and some of the pros and cons of each. The four that we're going to speak to today, and Amanda's going to help me with this great conversation, are having the internal marketing team help you with creation of the career website. So your internal marketing team are experts in their area. And a lot of times we see where they help with development of the career page. And unfortunately, sometimes it's just the page. And we'll get to that a little bit more in just a second. Another way that people might be creating their career website is through a product marketing agency. Somebody that's actually helped create the marketing site might actually do the career pages. The applicant tracking system a lot of times has the capability to do the development for the career website. And that can be very helpful in a lot of ways because they do control the job content. And so it might be a seamless transition for them to create some pages for you. And then the last way is where Wicresoft or agencies like ours come in from a recruitment marketing perspective and developing a career website that really speaks to the brand, the experience, and the job opportunities available. So Amanda has joined me today to talk about these different options. And so let's start back with the one I mentioned first, which is really having the internal marketing team or the internal web or comms team help with the creation of a website and some of the pros and cons that go along with it. Amanda, any thoughts off the top of your head as we get started?
Yeah. I think internally, a lot of people want to use their marketing teams, their IT group, their communications team, people that develop the content, because they know the brand so well. They understand the company's values. So it seems like an easy transition. Also is cost savings. You're using internal resources, so you're saving a little bit of money there. But where we see some of the cons come is their lack of expertise. Marketing departments are great, but recruitment marketing is a completely different beast. Selling a product or a service or on the brand side is very different than trying to sell your business to people. I think that's a good way to look at it. And not everybody really knows how to build a career website based on that. A lot of times we see things without a lot of information on them, or they speak more to the brand than they do the actual employer brand itself. So right. Those are a few of the things from the internal side that I see. Stacy, anything else?
Yeah, I would actually add to that, just because you had pointed it out, that they're almost like cousins. When we talk about the brand of an organization and the employment brand, it's almost like they need to be very consistent because they're cousins, but they're not necessarily speaking to the same audience. And that kind of transcends into the career website as well. One of the biggest, I think, issues that we see when the internal marketing team or IT group want to develop the career website is the resource allocation. There's always a great intent behind what they want to do, which is helping with the development, but then the resources, they get pushed to other projects that are more specific to the products and services they sell, and the talent acquisition team tends to get pushed to the end of the list. And that time frame can really be a detriment, because it could be that we're thinking it's 3 to 6 months from now we're going to get a new career website, but really it's more like a year. And so using your internal teams is a cost savings, but it may not be good from the standpoint of getting something up and running or updated more quickly. And so that really takes us into the product marketing agency. And I think that speaks to, and a lot of internal marketing teams have a product marketing agency. And so they will turn to the product marketing agency or even the web agency, because there are a lot of times it's just specific to a web development organization. But really that product marketing agency, which is really running a lot of expertise as it relates to promoting products and services. They have a great execution on a lot of creative aspects, but I think there's some cons to it too. And do you want to touch on those a little bit, Amanda?
Yeah, so from the con side, usually the cost is pretty high when it comes from the product marketing agency. And a big one is unclear communication. So a lot of times we see a website will be pushed out, whether it's quickly or whether it's delayed because of changes, but most often it is delayed because of their lack of understanding of an applicant tracking system, how to bring the jobs into the site itself. So we see a lot of delays. And again, that 6 months ends up turning to a year when there's a lot of back and forth and people don't understand applicant tracking systems. Anybody in our industry knows they are not just cut, paste, and dry. It's a little bit more difficult than that. And the other piece that's really detrimental is the lack of control that you have. A lot of times we see product marketing agencies owning the website and not always giving the client access or allowing them to make changes quickly and easily, charging for any changes. So the cost ends up building and building as more changes are made throughout the year, as maintenance is done. So overall, I think, the lack of knowledge of the applicant tracking system and the cost can be two of the bigger cons when you look at a product marketing agency.
Yeah, and what we don't want to see is, again, they're going to create something great for the product service side of the organization. And what we don't want to see is it just replicated with some career content. And we always like to say, come join with us, come grow with us, come join us. Those are very standard, basic taglines almost, or headlines that you might put into a site. And we see that a lot of times when a product agency does it, just because that's not their focus. Their focus is really how to promote those products and services.
Right.
The applicant tracking system organizations, again, they have a lot of knowledge when it comes to the jobs, the job feeds, the things that are going on within the applicant tracking system. So this should be a great tie between the applicant tracking system and the development of a career page so that they can tie in the actual feed to it, the job feed. And so there are a lot of bonuses with that. They can control what feed, if the feed gets updated, the site automatically gets updated. It's pretty seamless from a candidate perspective when you're going from their platform into the applicant tracking system. And so there's some great pros and some great qualities for having an applicant tracking system develop it. But I think what we've experienced with a couple of clients that have gone this route is that there is some limited ability to make changes. I think that's the biggest one I've heard recently is when the applicant tracking system is hosting it and managing the site for them, it's 2 weeks. Everything we hear is it's going to be 2 weeks to make that change. And so that's where I struggle a little bit with having the applicant tracking system do this is that there's not the client doesn't always have ownership of making those changes, kind of like we talked about with the product marketing agency. It's very similar in that regard. And we want to be able to make updates because hiring events come up or something changes with the benefits, something that we might need to modify quickly. We definitely want to have the access to do that. And I think the other thing is what we've seen from some of our clients is cost. The cost for the applicant tracking system to develop something of this nature tends to be pretty intensive. What is your feedback on the applicant tracking system model?
I agree with everything you said. The other thing is really the customization. Applicant tracking systems specialize in applicant tracking systems. They are not necessarily website developers. So they don't always include optimizations that you need, such as, Google search and jobs for Google. And you're limited to, maybe 5 templates that you can use. So there's not a lot of room for adding your culture, your employer brand, your value proposition. So it really limits what you're doing. The biggest one, though, is, and we've seen this with a lot of clients, when they ask for something as simple as adding a pixel to the thank you page on a form or an application, it takes anywhere from 10 to 30 days just for a pixel to be added. So it really limits your tracking capabilities when you're doing things outside of maybe the job boards that you already have set up. So I think there's very big time constraints and limited customizations that we see with the applicant tracking systems.
I think one thing I did forget to add, and I know you touched on it, so thank you for that, is the job optimization piece. And so we always talk to our clients about anything with an applicant tracking system, the jobs are actually sitting behind. I like to call it a firewall. I don't know the actual term for it, so we'll just we'll use that for now. But Google cannot find the jobs that are within the applicant tracking system feed, so that we can't index that. Google can't find that great content. We have hundreds of jobs a lot of times with great content and keywords, and Google's not able to find that unless we pull that forward into the actual career site. And so many of the career sites that are being developed now by agencies like ours is making sure that content lives on the career site. And so with an applicant tracking system model, it's not always as evident, and we can't get that great organic results coming into the site. And that takes us to our favorite one. Why don't you want to talk on it first?
Yeah.
Using a recruitment marketing agency.
Using a recruitment marketing agency, just like us, Wicresoft. The number one reason I would say it's beneficial is because of our knowledge. Again, we know that the brand, product, service side is very different than the recruitment side. We are trying to sell your employer brand to a candidate. So it needs to tell a story of not only what jobs you have open, but what benefits you have. What's your culture like? Do you have employee testimonials? Do you have videos that you're adding? Do you speak about your community? Do you speak about events? And really bringing all of that employer brand side to the career website. Media optimization is huge. So we look at and dig down deep into your job descriptions. Do they make sense? Are you using keywords in them that are being searched by people now, not 6 months ago, for example? We make recommendations for all of that. And again, we optimize for SEO, Google for Jobs. We optimize for everything so that these search engines and other websites are able to really read and easily understand between the platforms what jobs you have available. So that's some of it.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. We could probably go on for a long time. And I think there are so many platforms out there that are, whether it's a true recruitment marketing agency or it's a platform that is selling a career website, that you can look into. And I would say do the research, because a lot of the platforms that are places where you can actually start building it on your own and they provide components and you have access to do it, a lot of times those come at a higher price and they're not as user friendly as we would think they would be. And so there's the ability to have like a solution like ours, which is a little bit more custom. And then there's ones where the employer can actually kind of build it based on the components that are available within a solution. And so we've had access to a lot of those platforms as well to help our clients with building a career site. And I'll tell you that while the sales pitch sounds great, sometimes the output is not as good as what the sales pitch was. And then you start to have a career site that looks very similar to other people out in the industry. So your career site might look like somebody else that uses the same type of platform. And so we do think that the custom solution, because we don't, because there's the ability to control some of those costs within the custom solution too, that it is a good way, it is a good method. Make sure you're doing the research and looking into that as well. Anything else that we want to add on our career site?
I was going to say, the other part of that, like Stacy said, some of the other platforms where it is, again, just templates. Ours is different in that we get to customize it. And also, we normally see a 50 to 60% lower price than some of the competitors out there. And again, we're making it customizable for you. So it's something that makes sense to make sure that you are getting your employer brand out, that your website's the way you want it to look, and it's not a cookie cutter copy and paste website. So I do think the flexible options that we have and the different levels that we offer are a good solution for those looking at career websites.
And they can always be updated so easily when it's something like that. I think for a lot of our clients, we turn around any kind of changes. The quick changes probably within the same day. If it's something a little bit larger where we're creating a new page, it needs some new content, that may take a few days, but it still is relatively quick. So there's a lot of options. We wanted to provide some overview of the different places that people can get career websites. But again, the research is the most important thing. I think one of the pieces that people should ask, not only the price, because the price is the biggest component of it, is how long will it take to execute and have this career website updated? How long will any changes or revisions or additions take? So that's another piece of it. And then a lot of the organizations that build career websites too will charge you the same price to develop the site in the first year. It'll charge you the same price in the second year as it did the first year where all the development was done. So just be very careful about the cost being the same even after development's done. If you're just hosting and making small modifications, should the price really be the same as that first year of development? So there's just a lot of things that kind of go into the research that's being done and the actions or the direction that you take with a career website. So we appreciate you guys joining us today. And again, please feel free to reach out to us with any questions as it relates to career websites.